So unfortunately, the situation in USA just keeps getting worse and the violence is escalating. Today, Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at a live event in Utah. And if you know who Charlie Kirk is, he's a conservative commentator. He'll go on cable TV, you know, several networks, express his point of view. He has a YouTube channel, podcast, etc. Right, a real wide influence. He's also tightly connected to the White House, and in fact, Trump was the one who shared with everyone that Charlie is no longer with us. It's a very, very difficult conversation to have about this, and few people are going to be honest with you about it. I'll try my best, and I'll just say it's very sensitive topic, and emotions are running very, very high in the USA. My first reaction was it's just not safe. That's just my first reaction. It's just not safe. You want to be able to go to whatever live event that you want to go to. If you want to go to a political speech, you can. If you want to go to a music concert, you can, or a sporting event, you can. Like, you want to be able to enjoy yourself in USA and not worry about getting shot. But in the USA, it's just the reality. There's a lot of guns. The availability of guns is it's so easy to get one. All right, you have to address that. Then the other problem is you just have the what's the right word to say it, splintering of the USA, the be it cultural wars. You could also talk about the economic splintering, and things are just getting really desperate in the USA. And then you have to also address the stuff that's really hard to talk about is all the things and stuff that Charlie would say on a daily basis. I was just looking at his social media account, and I'm not going to show it to you, but I mean, if you want to look at it, you can. But it represents sort of the further deepening of the divides in the USA. You know, when I grew up as a kid, it just wasn't like that. Yes, you'd have different parties, and in fact, when I was younger, I just wasn't that political. I was patriotic. I cared about the USA. I supported, the USA, just, flag waving the whole bit, right? Just, I'm American. And I guess because I've seen it happen in USA. It's just this divide. People now are just talking about, this side and that side and red states and blue states. You guys know this if you're in the USA, and there's a lot less unity than there was before, and it's really tough. It's really, really tough in USA. And when because people keep asking about what are my reactions to stuff, and my reaction is, I guess, we need more leadership that brings people together and doesn't divide people. And the reason why this is so hard to talk about this subject is, Kirk and Trump were closely knit together, and these kind of people are, just being frank with you guys, are very, very divisive. It just adds more flame onto the fire. And if you want to read through all Kirk's statements, you can. I literally was just looking at it, and it's like, wow, because I don't look at it all the time. I'm just like, wow, it's bad. Now, that doesn't mean that I condone any sort of violence in any way, shape, or form. I absolutely do not. And that's why I say it very clear. The first thing is, it's just an unsafe place. There's too many guns in the streets. Anyone knows that. And even if you don't want to talk about the gun stuff, because there's always people in the USA say, no, it's not about the guns, right? It's not about the weapon. I could do a knife throw from 100 yards away or whatever, because I guess that's the shooter they were saying is maybe 100 yards away, something like that. And it's like, no, you couldn't. I mean, you couldn't do a knife throw from 100 yards away. You had to be honest about this stuff. America's got a real gun problem, and it's obvious to anyone who's ever left the USA, visit other places, and you're like, oh my God, it's so safe when other people don't have guns. So you have that. You have the two problems. You have the gun problem, and then you have the cultural divide problem. And then you have an issue to where much of what you see in the media is all about division, right? That's what people want to watch. That's what people's favorite network channels or favorite YouTube channels, they want to watch people fighting. They want to watch people yelling. They want to watch more name calling, right? Trust me, I know. Whenever I flip over to the American stuff, I'm just like, oh my God, who watches this stuff? And that could come from either side, either if you want to say left side or right side or whatever. And if you talk about sides all the time, people like to watch that stuff. And unfortunately, this is just the reality, and no one's really going to be honest about this probably, is Charlie Kirk was part of that machine, about the vision machine, I guess we can call it. Oftentimes it frustrates me because whenever I have conversations about with any of these type of topics, we like to talk about markets, the news, economy, etc. I always tell you the same stuff. I just want to look at numbers. I want to tell you the truth, what's going on. And 99.9% of us out there are all roughly the same. I'm being honest with you. We just want to have a job. We want to put food on the table, take care of our family, have good health. Like, we all want the same things. And what happens is that people, at the top will get you thinking about certain things, and that you should be hating your neighbor and you should divide each other, and not think of your neighbor as your friend. You think of your neighbor as your adversary, and you're competing for limited jobs. That's kind of what the system is going to. It's basically like a Squid Game or Hunger Games kind of environment, right? Where you think of your neighbors being competition. And I had to mention that is because when you look at Charlie's social media, I literally was just looking at it. He'll just say these outlandish things about other groups of people, and it's very, very divisive, right? I'm not going to repeat the stuff he says, but if you want to look for it, you can easily find it. It's all over the place. It's easy to find. It's just very, very divisive. And it's tough to address this issue because I don't want to be divisive like that, right? But I also want to tell you the truth of just look at what people say. And so that's why I try to more focus the message on 99.9% of us are all the same, right? We just want to take care of ourselves and take care of our family, and how do we move forward from here. I think we need better leadership, of course. I talk about that stuff all the time. Our current leadership is, hey, I'm going to tweet something and I might change my mind the next day. I'm going to turn on my friends. I'm going to call names, and then I'm going to tweet out memes and emojis. And that becomes a level of dialogue and discussion in USA. Then you got other, political people tweeting back to the Twitter, dude. It's like, oh yeah, haha, emoji, right? And that's our level of discussion of understanding of other people. It's all about the spectacle and the fight. And I have to go back to that first point where 99.9% of us are all the same, right? And the 0.1% I'm referring to is not the same. It's like the billionaire class who wants us to be divided, essentially. And there's something that really stood out with me recently that Charlie, he tweeted out like a week ago, and I can just tell you the basic gist of it. He was saying, hey, look at Asia, the streets are safe, these kind of things. And in fact, I will read the tweets. You can see I'm not just making random stuff up. This is from Charlie, just on September 6th. He says, when you walk the streets of major cities in Asia, you see a noticeable lack of bums, criminals, and troublemakers. Their cities are clean and orderly. We need to demand the same. And I know where he's going with this, okay? Trust me, I really know. But I know where he's not going with this, because where do I live? I live in Korea. So from Charlie, and I think Tucker might do this, and other right-wing commentators, they try to paint it as if you're all ethnically the same, then therefore, your places are better, stuff like that, right? But what's so crazy is that when they admire, say, major cities in Asia, be it Tokyo or Seoul or whatever, they ignore some very key points. And you could argue similar to Europe as well, or other places, but key points is like, hey, if you have a culture where you say, you know what, I want to take care of my fellow neighbors, be it with education, be it with healthcare, or if you have a place to where, hey, I don't want to have substances or guns on the streets. I mean, you'd be surprised how much your society will change. And I'll repeat, if you take care of your people, right? It's not about ethnicities. It's not about the diversity stuff, because they're going to try to argue Charlie Kirk, and those people say, oh, well, the problem is we need to kick out certain kinds of people, and we have only keep people, right? That's look at Asia, look at that. It's like, no. It's and also to think of it this way, not every single country in Asia is stable. It's not. I mean, you can see what's happening in Nepal right now, which I mentioned in a prior video. It's not. But the thing is that keeps a country stable is taking care of your people. I'm telling you the truth. And also seeing your fellow citizens and people, because I have to mention it, because people say, well, Chris, oh, yes, we just want to take care of only citizens. But no, rephrase that. People, as being your brothers and sisters, and not your competitor like Squid Game, right? Because if you guys watch Squid Game or Hunger Games, that's what it devolves into, to where only one person wins and you're supposed to off all of your, you know, supposed competition, right? That's kind of the world that we live in. So I agree with Charlie that we should demand the same, that you want your cities to be clean and orderly. Completely agree with that. But, you know, he's overlooking some very, very key points. And, you know, his politics and his support of sort of things that he was pushing is put the USA in the situation that it is, to where it is unsafe and more divided. So I just wanted to tell you the truth and stuff, and just in an honest way. I know it's going to be hard to talk about these things because, you know, it's important to mention. It's important to mention. You know, his friends, his family lost a loved one, and I don't want to make light of that in any way, shape, or form. Make that clear. And I always make it clear with any of these kind of topics, guys, is I care about all people. And, you know, as my point of view on this stuff is 99.9% of us are all the same, and we should be looking at our brothers and sisters and how we take care of them, opposed to the culture in USA right now is, hey, let's just fight and call each other names. And that's the most popular stuff that people want to see. And it's a constant, you know, fighting, and it's tough. So, please be safe out there. I know it's tough right now, and I know it's getting worse. And, you know, I'm concerned about if Trump's going to pull something crazy, just for Frank, because he is calling the National Guard in several cities, and he'll say, wow, we have to make everyone safe, putting the military out there. And, you know, as I talked about in the last video, even the National Guard is saying our people are feeling uncomfortable with the whole situation. And it's so tough right now in today's environment. There's so much gaslighting out there and bad faith arguments. And you know, I can say a lot more on the channel than I do. I can't tackle every single problem. It's so tough. But I guess the main problem that sort of overrides all of this is, again, we need to be thinking about how can we take care of our fellow people? How can we bring people together, right? And also have good faith arguments where you're willing to talk. Because if you watch, you know, Charlie show, whatever, it's not really about that. It's just about beating the libs and that kind of stuff. And I think that kind of culture is really, really negative. So that's my thoughts on this. I do appreciate your time, and I'll catch you in the next video.